Hello and welcome back to Solomon's Cave. A few videos back, if you are following the main Biblical Hebrew playlist, I introduced you to nouns in Biblical Hebrew. First, the difference between masculine and feminine nouns, and then between singular, plural, and dual nouns, or noun forms. Then I took a tiny detour and talked about two types of prefixes, namely the definite article ha, and both inseparable prepositions like be, ke, and le, and the semi-separable preposition min or mi. Now, however, we get to a part of Biblical Hebrew grammar that does not have a simple to understand equivalent in English, and that is the concept of absolute versus construct nouns. And I will discuss those over the course of two videos. In this, the first video, I will talk about their form, how to recognize if a word is in the absolute or the construct state, how to make a construct form out of an absolute, and how to recognize an absolute form if you start with a construct. Then in the second video I will talk about their function, as in, why would you want to take a perfectly normal absolute form and turn it into a construct one? But alright, first things first, the absolute form. So far, when I talked about gender and number in a noun, all of those examples from the previous videos were words written in the absolute state. This is the standard form and the form which you will find in dictionaries and vocab lists. Construct forms are usually only included in vocab lists if they are irregular. So let's start with regular construct forms. In the video on singular, plural and dual, I showed you a table for the word horse or sus. Here it is, masculine and feminine and singular, plural and dual. Sus, susa, susim, susoth, susayim, susayim. Now let's add a column for the construct forms. Sus, susath, susei, susoth, susei, susei. So a couple of things stand out. First of all, the masculine singular and the feminine plural remain the same. Then there is a very typical masculine plural dual ending of a, which you can also find in the feminine dual. It is basically a normal plural or dual form, but with the final meme dropped off and the e changes into an a. And finally, there is the feminine singular, where the final a sound is changed to ath. But that is just the base rule that you should think of when dealing with perfectly regular nouns or adjectives. There are some other nouns that are irregular, or groups of nouns that stick together and follow a similar rule. Here are some examples, and I'm going to use some of the most common words. Here, look at these examples. House, bayith, to bathe. Death, maweth, to moth. Ayin, to ain. You see what's happening here? You go from having two vowels to a single one, so essentially you make the word a little shorter, even if the vowel becomes longer. Speaking of becoming shorter, son, been to ben, word, davar to devar. And the same is true for some plural words. Hands, yadoth to yodoth. Men, plural, anashim to anshei. In the first example, you go from a long tsere to a short segol. And in the other examples, the second last syllable becomes a showa. But sometimes things become a little longer. Camp, machaneh to machaneh. Field, sadeh to sedeh. Tribe, mateh to matei. Or a whole consonant is added. Father, av to avi. Brother, ach to achi. Mouth, peh to bi. Alright, that last one didn't become longer, but still, it follows a similar pattern, doesn't it? There are some more exceptions and groups of exceptions, but here is my advice for now. Learn these basic patterns first, and for some other exceptional cases, learn them along the absolute form. Or, when you are reading Hebrew and a word almost looks like the one you learned, ask yourself if this could be a construct noun. Most dictionaries and vocab lists will include the construct form if it is not regular, by the way, so that is another way to learn or to verify. Oh, and one more thing. Though it is not obligatory, it is not at all uncommon to see a makef after a construct noun. This is especially helpful if the form of the construct noun is identical to the absolute form, or in the case of words like father or brother or mouth, which are very similar or even identical to my father, my brother, and my mouth. Though we will discuss possessive suffixes in a future video. Now, most grammars will tell you how to turn an absolute form into a construct form, and I'm sure that's helpful. But in practice, most of the time you will read a noun and it is in the construct state, and you're trying to figure out what the absolute form is, because dictionaries are listed by the absolute form. Thankfully, the difference in consonants between absolute and construct, like singular and plural, are all at the end. This means that the vowel may be slightly different and that the ending may differ a little bit, most notably in the female a turning to ath, and in some cases a short word can add an e. But otherwise, your dictionary searches shouldn't be too difficult. So that was the forms of construct nouns. In the next video, we'll delve deeper into the meaning and function of construct nouns, but just to give you at least a little foretaste of what's to come. Whenever you see a noun in the construct state, think of the word of, or think of possession or association. This will not always work, but it should at least get you started. So, Bnei is sons of, and then Bnei Yisrael is sons of Israel, or Israelites. But again, more details in the next video.